Hi everybody, this is Professor West for GMC. We're still learning Alice, which is a way for you to learn a lot of the basic computer programming terminology and concepts. So we're going to take a break from the actual program for just a few minutes and talk about some of the terminology and stuff. So what is a computer program? A computer program is a set of instructions or statements that tells the computer what to do. Programmers generally write computer programs using programming languages which can be translated into machine code that can be executed by the computer. So what does that mean? Well, a set of instructions or statements that tells the computer what to do. One of the big examples that people like to use is the instructions on how to bake cookies. You buy a little pack of cookies and it tells you preheat the oven to 350 degrees, separate into the cookies into however big pieces, put them on a pan, put them in the oven for however long, all that kind of stuff. So just a set of step-by-step instructions. And when we're talking about programming languages, there are tons of programming languages. Some of the popular ones right now would include Python, Java, JavaScript, C++. There's a whole lot of different programming languages. And it doesn't really matter which one you use. Different ones have different specialties. But what happens is they're each set up with their own set of rules that makes sure that everything complies with the language the computer understands, which is called binary. And it's also called machine code. So if you write a program in a language like Java or whatever, then you have your environment where it makes sure that all the rules are applied and everything's done right. Then when you're finished with it, you do what we call compiling it, which translates everything into ones and zeros, makes a copy of it, and that way the computer can actually understand it outside of the Java environment. So that's what we're talking about there. Basic programming ideas. A program can be a list of instructions to follow in order, sequential processing. So that's just step by step by step, like I mentioned with the cookies a minute ago. A program can be a direction to do something if something else happens, and they have the word if bolded. That's called a conditional execution. And how it works is, basically it says if this happens, then do this, otherwise do something else. And it gives you the option to have multiple outcomes. A program can be a set of instructions that repeat a behavior a certain amount of times or until something happens. That's called looping or iteration. So you may tell it to, let's say you're going to enter a bunch of grades, and you would have it keep entering grades, and eventually you would get to the end, and then it would calculate the average or whatever you're doing. So you would have the same piece of code that would just keep asking, okay, enter another grade, enter another grade. That's a loop. A program can be a set of directions that returns an answer to a question. So that's like a function. So basically it would ask a question and get an answer. A program can be a mixture of all the above. Most of the programs that I write include all of these. And they're not very big programs. So these are all very basic concepts that quickly start to be used in programming. So what does an Alice program do? The Alice programming environment was created to help you program. You can create the scripted animations of stories, interactive stories and environments, so you can interact with the objects, and you can make games and so forth. I'm not going to read all these slides, but there's a few here that are important. So an Alice program, directions for how to compute the computer will build and display the environment. We've already been doing this some. Directions for what will happen, that's what we're talking about doing, and we're actually going to start really doing now. And directions for what the program should listen for from the outside of the program, like keyboard inputs and mouse interactions and so forth. Those are the three main things that we were talking about in the last segment. And then when you run the program, the viewer comes up, lets you watch it. We've already demonstrated that. The angry queen, sometimes things will go wrong. You get the error message. Editing the program using the undo and so forth, we've already talked about. Modifying the statements, that's where you go into, once you put the statement up there, then you can go in and change some of these different aspects. Notice they're all with this yellow background, the parts that you could change. Reordering, we've already talked about. Deleting them. So basically, it's just saying that you have pretty much complete control. You can do all of this stuff. And here's one. This is one of them that I was wanting to point out. So you can make a chunk of them, and you can copy it. You can drag the statements into the clipboard to drag them out to another location. You can option click Mac or option click PC to duplicate a statement or a block and to add it to another location. So in essence, what they're saying is you can, like, let's say you like these lines of code and you want it to work for something else, you could copy it and then use it somewhere else. That's not something that's typically done in other programming languages, but there are some that do it. Disabling statements, that's where you basically just tell it to skip the statement. You can right click on it and choose enable. If there's a check there, if you click it again, then it would turn it grayed out, kind of like these down here, so that you wouldn't use it. And and then doing it again, right clicking on it again and putting that check back would make it where now the program would use it. Tips and tricks, some helpful orientation procedures. Try other the different orientation. I don't know why that says that, but so basically they're saying that you can move, have them face, orient to, all these different things that we've already discussed some, and we have not got into animating the camera yet. So just like you can turn these people around, you can turn the camera angles and move it around and so forth, so you can change up the view. We'll get into doing that pretty quick. And to do so, we'll use camera markers and so forth. So scenes and procedures. Don't forget about the scene procedures. They can be used to create some very cool environments and effects. That's what we were doing before, where we made them a little transparent and so forth. And that's the other one that's very, very important. Save often. On here it says save every 10 to 20 minutes. So let me tell you what happens if the computer crashes or the program crashes or whatever, and you haven't saved for 20 minutes, then you kind of have to go back and do all 20 minutes worth of that work again. I personally like to hit the save button about every 5 minutes. That way I never lose more than 5 minutes worth of work. And that has helped me so many times. So it's up to you, but we have a saying in the programming world, save early and save often. So if you save every 5 minutes, then you never lose more than 5 minutes worth of work. So that's it for this video, and in the next one we'll actually start doing some more of this stuff. Bye everybody.